Hello there. It's a lovely June day in Detroit in 2020, but about 4.5 years ago in January 2016 I posted a video that was made for people who were thinking about buying an RC tank. Well, since then there have been a lot of advancements in the hobby, so I figured it was about time for an update. Now, this is a mixture of Taizhen and Hanglong tanks that represent the latest advancements in the hobby, and then after that we'll get to the trucks. That's a whole different story. But some of the things that weren't available when I made the first video now are. I kind of had a little wish list of things I'd like to see on a stock tank. Wanted to be able to turn the headlights on and off from the transmitter. Wanted to be able to turn the smoke on and off from the transmitter. Control the volume from the transmitter. I wanted proportional speed on my turret rotation. These were all things that were not available on the electronics available back then. Since then, Hanglong got completely out of infrared, and they've only just come back into it. Now, in the first video, I covered the basic styles of tanks and types like IR and airsoft, and if you're thinking about buying an RC tank, you should probably watch that video, and I'll post a link to it when I post this video. So as far as the advancements are concerned, let's start with Taizhen. The second tank from the left there is the Taizhen, what they call the, it's a Tiger 1 mid, and it has airsoft barrel recoil. This is the only tank available from Taizhen that does have airsoft and barrel recoil. But I gotta say that they just perform so much better now than they did. The airsoft units are so much more reliable. Taizhen always did have the best motor controllers in a stock tank, but this tank you can get from IMEX in Florida. It's the IMEX Taizhen Tiger 1 mid, and you'll see when I fire the cannon it shoots BBs, and it also has barrel recoil. I also have proportional rotation speed. I can creep slowly, I can speed up, I can come back down. They still haven't fixed the barrel elevation. You still have to cycle all the way through. You have to make it go all the way up, and then it'll come down, and then it'll go up, and then it'll come down. You can't stop in the middle and change directions. But this tank right out of the box is just so much fun. It's a great runner. Shoots 6mm airsoft BBs. It's got barrel recoil. In the new V3 electronics from Taizhen, the advancements have been they added proportional speed control for turret rotation. They have a setting on there now where you can eliminate the track recoil. You can just turn the track recoil completely off. Also, with the V3 electronics, should you choose to, you can run your own hobby grade 6-channel transmitter, like a FlySky i6 or a Spectrum. As long as it's got 6 channels, you can run it on your own transmitter. And I've done that, and there is a noticeable difference in like control, and I mean it's just a much better radio. But the stock controllers are just fine, and in my humble opinion, for airsoft tanks, I think the stock controllers work just great, and I don't really see any reason to spend the money to change them. So that's the IMEX Taizhen Tiger 1 mid. Now, a lot of the other tanks that I've gotten are airsoft tanks, or excuse me, infrared tanks. This is the IMEX Taizhen JS2, one of the newer heavy tanks. As you can see from that blue thing in the turret, that's called the apple or the mushroom, and that's the receiver for the infrared. And the emitter, if you look just to the right of the barrel, you can just see the IR emitter sticking out there in the mantlet. Every IR tank has a receiver and an emitter, and that's how they take and receive hits. The JS2 is a great heavy tank. It runs great. I also picked up a Panzer IV Summer Edition in infrared. It has the infrared tanks all have barrel recoil. This is an all metal tank. It's not like the one that they were selling when I did the first video. That was all plastic. This has got a metal turret, complete metal lower hull, comes with metal road wheels and sprockets and idlers and tracks and all that stuff. Then there's the Panzer III, which also has a metal turret and is also infrared, also from IMEX Taizhen. This one, I'm going to change the gearboxes in it because I think it's too fast, but that's up to me. Now, this tank I just got from IMEX. I got it on a scratch and dent, and that's why it has an unpainted turret. But these Sherman 76mm are really great running little tanks. This is the one tank that I think is more reliable, more dependable, and runs better than the Tamiya. Tamiya being, of course, the gold standard. But their Sherman is not the greatest, and this Sherman is pretty good. The thing is that this Sherman has what they call VVSS, or Vertical Volute Suspension System, and that can be identified by looking between the bogies. Things kind of run up and down in a vertical direction. When you see the HVSS, there's such a huge difference. It's not difficult. I mean, you'll know immediately that you're looking at a different suspension. But so far, only Tamiya and Huben have the HVSS, and that's the suspension you need to build the famous EZ8 that was featured in the movie Fury. Okay, so now let's move on to Heng Long. Now, Heng Long has by far made the most advancements in their electronics, and these two tanks here, the Sherman and the Jagdpanther, are Heng Long. Now, the Jagdpanther I bought on eBay, and they were calling it a cheetah, and I thought that was pretty funny. And then I learned that the reason for that is that in the seller's native language, the word panther and cheetah are the same word. So to him, he was still calling it the same thing. But this is an enterprising young man over there that got some Heng Long tanks, and then he added metal road wheels with rubber tires and metal sprockets and idlers and tracks, and then he puts them up on eBay, and I got this one for $240 delivered, and you're not going to find a deal like that again. Now they're closer to 300 bucks. But back to the Heng Long electronics. This Sherman has their next level of electronics, what they call the 5.3, and it features some real advancements. The motor controllers on these are still not that great. Their low speed control is still a little touchy. Turning is a little touchy. Now this one is airsoft. It has proportional speed control on the turret. And one of the things that they did that I like is that now when you move the joystick for elevation, instead of just pulling back and letting it cycle through up and down, you can go up or down as you choose. Let me turn the turret so you can see what's going on there. So I can come up, I can stop, I can go back down all the way. When you get all the way to the top, I don't know if you heard that little click. That tells you you're all the way at the top. Now, like I said, this is airsoft, and this has got a pretty good airsoft cannon in it. And on the 5.3s, they hooked it up so that in order to fire the airsoft cannon, you push this button and then push the stick all the way forward. And this button is for your machine gun. So to fire the cannon on the 5.3, you push the button and push the stick. And it's still got that nasty track recoil, and there's nothing I can do about it. But that's their latest, and some of the good innovations in that are now I can control the volume from the transmitter. Has 6 different levels of volume and mute. Also, I can turn the smoke on and off from the transmitter. I don't know if you can hear it running or not, but it is. And turn it back off. So those were some innovations that I really liked. I thought that was pretty cool. So after the 5.3, they have just come out with the 6.0, and they're already to the 6.1, which has even more features, which we'll get to in a second. But this Jagdpanther, the Cheetah, this came with the 6.0 electronics. And with the 6.0, they've really stepped up their game on slow speed control. It's gotten much better. You can make this thing creep and turn the way you want it to, and it's really easy to run and control. No more jerky, rabbity start-stop action. Got the same up and down action on the barrel. And this tank comes with a small apple. So not only does it shoot airsoft BBs, whenever you shoot the airsoft cannon, the emitter, which is mounted right above the barrel in the center of the shroud there, that comes on and sends the IR signal to other tanks. So to IR battle, I would imagine you would want to unload the BBs. But this does not have barrel recoil and does not have muzzle flash. Now, as far as being Tamiya compatible, You know, in order to battle at a club that uses Tamiya standards, they have certain rules that you have to follow, or you're not getting on the battlefield. For one thing, you have to have muzzle flash. Your IR emitter has to be in a 6mm tube, and it has to be buried 9mm deep. You have to have LED flash on your apple to indicate when you've received a hit. Your tank has to suffer from reduced speed when it has taken hits. It's called battle damage, simulated battle damage. After you take 4 or 5 hits on a heavy tank, it won't run as fast. And once you get up to 7 or 8 hits, you're barely creeping along. They also don't have different weight classes of tanks. With the Tamiya, you've got light, medium, and heavy. They have reload times and 3 different classes, and Hang Long has none of that. It will take and receive hits from a Tamiya tank, but that is all. So it's not suitable for club battles if that's what you're looking to get into, unless you change to an aftermarket board. Now, they have come out with the 6.1, and I understand that with that one, it's only available in a couple tanks, and one of them is their premium Abrams tank. And in that tank, it not only shoots airsoft BBs, it has barrel recoil, and when you fire the main gun, smoke comes out the end of the barrel. I think that's just really cool. So, since the last video, like I said, there have been some serious advancements in the hobby. And with the 6.1, not only can you turn the smoke off and on from the transmitter and control the volume, you can always also turn the light on and off. I always have to remember which thing I'm supposed to press, but you press one of the buttons and push the left stick all the way forward, and it turns your light off. Now, when they first came out, the 6.1, I couldn't determine any difference between the 5.3 transmitter. Hold on just a second. Let's do this. The 5.3 transmitter and the 6.0 look almost exactly the same. The only difference I can find so far is that when you turn on the 6.0 transmitter, it beeps, and the 5.3 does not. But the 6.0 is really a very sophisticated system compared to what they used to have, and I'm quite pleased with it. I think for an airsoft tank, this is pretty much all I need. It does everything, just about everything that I want it to do. It still won't cut the grass, but, you know, what are you going to do? Another advancement in the hobby has been that they have started to introduce soft skin vehicles. That was one of the things I wanted to see, trucks and Jeeps and stuff, because, you know, tanks didn't function all by themselves. They had whole support teams. So these are some of the advancements that have been made on that side of the industry. Now, this is a Toro M16 Half-Track, and it's been around for quite a while. It was around when I made the last video. And it's a beautiful little model. The biggest problem with it is that it's still FM 27 megahertz, and you've only got maybe 40 feet of range if you're lucky. But a company called Elmod makes a plug-in board for this vehicle that lets you use your own transmitter to give you great range and all that stuff. It's got other features in it, but Elmod is rather expensive. You can get these on eBay for about 250 bucks. Then they came out with the trucks. There's 2 major players in that game, WPL and JJRC. This is a JJRC truck that we're going to come back to. And this is a WPL Euro. Now, these trucks are ridiculously cheap. You can get them as low as 40 bucks. Then they have different features that will affect the price. The very base models don't have proportional throttle. It's just stop and go. And they have motor controlled steering, which means that all you get is left, right, and center. So those are on your very basic $40 models, like this little pickup truck right here. It's got stop and go throttle and bump steer. The Rover back there, it's got a proportional throttle, but it's still got bump steer. The Ural has proportional throttle and servo steering, and it was only about 80 bucks, ready to run. So you can get pretty good deals on them, and depending on how much you spend, that will dictate the features that you get. And this is what they call the Q60, and it's a JJRC truck, and I've gone through it. It's gotten paint, it got metal tow hooks on the front. I switched to warm white LEDs for the headlights. I changed the mirrors. I painted the whole truck, but also like the windshield wipers and stuff like that. I put all the decals on. I added stowage in the rear, and I took out and junked the stock electronics, and I put in a proper steering servo and a 20 amp ESC and a sound system. So now it's a great little truck. And I brought this one out to show you that there's another aspect to trucks that's come up too. This is a WC51, but this was 3D printed. I printed this on my 3D printer, even the tires. I used the axles and springs from one of the WPL trucks, so those are not 3D printed. But basically everything you see here was 3D printed except for the headlights. For those, we're using the T34 headlights that I picked up from IMEX. So they've come out with a lot of nice little trucks in a variety of different prices. The blue pickup was about $40. The Rover with the proportional throttle, I believe that was like $49.99. The 3D printed vehicles are priceless. The Q60, when I first got it, I think I paid $60 for it. And this is all plus shipping. And then I went through it, and I got it on a FlySky hobby grade radio now, and I probably put about $120 into it, and I've got a great little truck. Both the Transporter 5 and the Ural were in the $70 to $80 range, and I think I already said the M16s can be had for about 250 bucks. So they have really expanded the hobby to get into the soft skin vehicles. They've really made some excellent upgrades in their electronics. If you're in the United States and you want to buy a tank, the first dealer I recommend is IMEX Model Company in Florida. Watch their scratch and dent section for deals. They run sales all the time. They've got great customer service. They're in the US, so any order over 75 bucks is free shipping. Like I said, with the Sherman, with the 76mm Sherman, they got a wide range of price. You can get it in the kit form with no electronics for about $325, and it goes all the way up to about $525 for one that's all painted and got V3 electronics and it's ready to go. Just put the battery in and run. And of course, IR tanks will always be slightly more expensive than airsoft tanks. There's just more stuff in there. So that's kind of an update to the last video as to what's going on in the hobby. There's been some tremendous steps forward. The 3D print craze has really shown its face in our hobby. Guys are 3D printing all kind of stuff, as am I. I'm 3D printing everything from crates and fuel drums to jerry cans and entire trucks. So if you're thinking about getting an RC tank, this is a really great time to get into the hobby. The new Hang Long, if you want the latest and greatest from them, you're looking for the 6.0 or 6.1 electronics. With Tijen, the latest is the V3. Also, I should point out that Tijen and Toro are basically the same tank. They're actually made in the same factory. And they're in the United States, they're all distributed by the IMEX Model Company. And IMEX has a lot to do with what they produce and what details they add and features they add. So those guys down there are just great to know, and they're great to do business with. So anyway, that's kind of an update to the last video. I hope maybe it helped some poor soul just a little bit, and we'll see you next time.